Although I think we've all dreamt at one point or another about being the member of a powerful dynasty, the ugly truth behind the business of ruling is that it's quite the headache most of us wouldn't want to endure. Diplomatic relations, espionage concerns, land disputes, royal ceremonies that take days to get fitted for. Indeed, being the matriarch or patriarch of a modern monarchy in a globalized world is more than just sunshine, rainbows and Rolls-Royces. Truthfully, above it all, it is an economic position that, as we'll see, can not only break a whole family, it can destroy an entire nation. So, you ask, how do they pull it all together? What are the exact economic frameworks that today's monarchies are using to not only stay in power, but in many cases, grow the influence and reach of their lands across the globe? In today's episode of Old Money Luxury, we'll explain that and much, much more as we describe the economics of royalty and how modern monarchies manage wealth. First, you'll have to excuse me for a little bit of bias toward my native land by starting off with this one. But hey, we have the most famous monarchy in the world, so why not begin on Albion? In the seemingly endless columns of the British royal family's financial portfolio, where £21.3 billion, or roughly $28 billion, barely earns a side glance from the crown's jewels, we can easily feel like paupers in a monopoly game where the royals hold all the deeds. Here we'll first find their largest cash cow, the Crown Estate, with its over £15 billion of assets, where you'll find yourself thumbing through a library of holdings in picturesque landscapes, bustling businesses, and gilded London properties. Indeed, the estate holds the rights to literally more than half of the UK's shoreline. This financial framework, rather untraditionally, dates back to 1760, when King George III decided that managing land was beneath a king and handed over control to the government for a salary. Trading terrain for a paycheck, he created a transparent model so bold that even the French, legendary lovers of enigma in finance, might have nodded in approval. However, across the Channel, the French's historically confusing economic entanglements involving public and personal spending set the stage for the French Revolution. Back then, the Germans, with their financial fiefdoms, preferred the laissez-faire approach, savouring financial autonomy with the zest of medieval guildmasters. Thus, even as we dive deeper into the economics of today's monarchies, we already see some subtle differences in wealth allocation and ruling styles from the past that have a direct influence on how countries are run in the 21st century. Moving forward, the other major holdings of the British monarchy are the duchies. The Duchy of Cornwall, valued at almost £1 billion, dates back to 1337, a trust fund for the heir apparent that mingles medieval grandeur with Wall Street savvy. Then there's the Duchy of Lancaster, older and perhaps wiser at around £750 million, serving the reigning monarch a buffet of urban properties and farmlands, its financial sustainability with a royal flourish. Now, across Europe, the monarchy's money bags vary as widely as the recipes in the Queen's kitchen. The British royal family's sovereign grant, an £86.3 million fiscal linchpin for 2021 to 2022, is not just about opening parliaments, it adds an estimated £2.5 billion flavour to the UK's economic pudding. Spain's monarchy, in contrast, follows a salaryman's budget. No grand estate sales here, just around €8 million delivered in monthly envelopes. It's the tortilla española to the UK's roast beef. Belgium's royals, living on a civil list that feeds them €11.6 million annually, operate with a modest footprint, without the cost of national delicacies. Meanwhile, the Dutch and Swedish monarchies seem to be consulting the same royal financial advisor, with state budgets keeping their palaces and privy purses well oiled. And then there's Monaco's Grimaldis. With an income drawn from casinos and hotels, they turn the glitz up to 11, fostering a glamorous haven for the wealthy and casting Monaco as the high roller at the European table. Thus, Europe is a world where the economic structures are as varied as royal titles, from the sparkling monarchan model to the steadfast British approach. Now, the economic tale of East Asia's monarchies reads like a lavish buffet, featuring everything from the understated elegance of Japan's chrysanthemum throne to the opulent extravagance of Brunei's sultan. In Japan, the emperor doesn't stash gold coins in the imperial coffers. Instead, he relies on the Japanese government's budget, which rang in at 16.3 billion yen in 2021. It might not be a treasure hoard, but it certainly keeps the imperial family well fed, from Wagyu beef to the ingredients for miso soup, courtesy of their 622-acre farm. However, things for the Japanese imperial family were not always so measured. Once considered among the world's wealthiest, Japan's monarchy underwent a fiscal makeover after World War II. A new constitution stripped the emperor of powers, leaving him simply as a symbol of the state. No more raining gold coins for His Majesty, but he can still greet foreign dignitaries and enjoy his family's produce. Hop over to Thailand and you'll find King Maha Vajiralongkorn, one of the world's wealthiest rulers, luxuriating atop an estimated net worth of $40 billion. The Crown Property Bureau, or the CPB, manages the royal finances, possessing holdings such as stakes in luxury hotels and Bangkok's upscale shopping centres. The CPB's financial dealings are complex and not easily understood, leading to recent protests demanding greater transparency. Next, we trepidatiously glance at the controversial wealth of Brunei's Sultan, akin to wandering through his 1,788-room palace without a map. The Sultan's fortune is intertwined with Brunei's vast oil and gas reserves. For example, the country ranks as the fourth richest nation globally by GDP per capita, where oil is indeed king. And no, we're not talking about the kind used in salad dressings. Similar to Thailand, Brunei's fiscal affairs are cloaked in secrecy, resembling a money blender where personal and national wealth are mixed. Industry skeptics may question Brunei's oil ambitions, but nobody can doubt the Sultan's passion for luxury. His garage alone, worth over $5 billion, boasts 600 Rolls-Royces, 450 Ferraris, and 380 Bentleys. And if you're ever invited to his palace, choose one of his 257 bathrooms wisely. Therefore, contrasting the finances of East Asian monarchies with those in Europe is akin to comparing an epic feast with an afternoon tea ceremony. While European kings and queens neatly file their publicly followed financial records next to pet corgis, their East Asian counterparts add a dash of mystery and opulence. With that said, let's travel over to the newest and most trending kids on the block, the Middle Eastern monarchies. Between here and Africa, different kingdoms have developed unique approaches to power and investment, deeply rooted in a tightly wound hierarchy and exponential economic growth. Thus, each approach is a mixture of modern and traditional influences. Saudi Arabia, where the desert is rich with oil, has accumulated immense wealth, most notably in the hands of the House of Saud. With a staggering net worth of around $1.4 trillion, the royal family's assets are, unsurprisingly, mainly in oil, which constitutes approximately 90% of export earnings, and perhaps more surprisingly, a whopping 42% of GDP. Additionally, the family also has significant real estate investments and stakes in major companies. Saudi Aramco, the world's most valuable company, with an estimated market capitalization of $2 trillion, stands as a central part of this wealth. But the Saudi royal family's interests extend beyond oil. They're involved in banking, real estate, and even military industries. The Public Investment Fund, or PF, Saudi Arabia's sovereign wealth fund valued at $828 billion, plays a key role in these investments. This includes investments in various global sectors like technology, infrastructure, steel, and hotels. Despite this clear involvement in diverse investments, the exact details of the royal family's finances remain somewhat unclear, similar to some of their Asian counterparts. Furthermore, their spending on properties, cars, and luxuries seems intertwined with the nation's overall wealth in ways that are not always transparent. In the neighboring United Arab Emirates, the royal families in Abu Dhabi and Dubai are prominent players in the global investment field. To be more specific, an emirate is a political territory ruled by a monarch or an emir, often rich in natural resources like oil, and each emirate can have its own set of laws and economic policies. 7 emirates contribute to the country's economy, each with a unique blend of resources and financial strategies. These can range from oil and gas exploration to tourism and finance, allowing for diverse economic growth across the different territories. Additionally, their $828 billion sovereign wealth fund, ADIA, is a particular highlight, with interests in real estate and private equity. Now, Dubai's royal family has been instrumental in moving the city from an oil-based economy to an international hub, with investments in trade, tourism, real estate, and finance. Infrastructure investments and business-friendly policies have drawn global companies and entrepreneurs to the region. For instance, one of Dubai's innovative approaches has been the creation of special economic zones to lure foreign investment, along with free trade agreements. This has positioned Dubai as a key financial, business, and logistics center for the Middle East. Furthermore, the UAE's royal families have actively supported the economy through financial backing, infrastructure projects, and strategic trade policies. Dubai's Al Maktoum family, in particular, has been vital in transforming the city into a global business center, emphasizing growth in the economy, tourism, and industrial sectors. For example, Dubai's strategic location and modern infrastructure, combined with attractive business regulations, have brought in major global companies like General Motors and Shell, strengthening its role on the international stage. Now in neighboring Qatar, natural gas constitutes around an astounding 60% of its GDP. Notably, the Qatari royal family made a significant move by bringing the FIFA World Cup to their country in 2022, leveraging the nation's vast oil and gas reserves for the necessary investments. This decision spurred growth in various sectors, resulting in an 8% expansion in the economy during the fourth quarter of the year the event was held. However, the economic benefits of hosting the World Cup were not without their difficulties. Allegations of bribery and corruption marred the process of securing the event. Additionally, the treatment of migrant workers, who were employed to build the required infrastructure, came under scrutiny. Reports of poor working conditions, low wages, and even deaths among the labor force cast a shadow over Qatar's successful bid. Thus, Middle Eastern monarchs combine investment acumen with authoritative control, managing economic growth with a by-any-means-necessary mentality. Contrast this with the European royal fare, and you often find less decadent state involvement. Moving to Africa, Morocco's King Mohammed VI operates with skill and precision in various sectors, including agriculture and banking. His holding company, SNI, has substantial holdings in key parts of Morocco's economy, making him a notable figure both in royal and entrepreneurial circles. But perhaps the most noteworthy economic outlier is Eswatini's King Mswati III, who actively oversees industries ranging from telecommunications to agriculture. His desire for wealth is strong, though some criticize it as excessive, particularly considering the poverty levels in his kingdom. In this small landlocked monarchy, where the economy is as diverse as King Mswati's wardrobe, agriculture, forestry, and mining form a trifecta of 13% of GDP. Meanwhile, manufacturing, particularly in the glamorous world of textiles and sugar-related processing, stylishly represents 37% of GDP. Not to be outdone, services, led by government, constitute a rather official 50% of GDP. Now, King Mswati III, who ascended to the throne in 1986, has amassed an estimated net worth of $100 million. If you're picturing the king lounging in lavish luxury, your imagination isn't far off. The monarchy's wealth, primarily derived from the country's resources, fuels the king's opulent lifestyle. Yet beneath the glitz and glamour, the cries for democracy in Eswatini have grown louder since June 2021. Indeed, the country's economy might feel like a high-stakes board game controlled by a small elite of royally connected individuals. While the monarch lives like royalty, many citizens reportedly face a life far from the fairy tale, living in poverty and driving unrest. Additionally, recent challenges in Eswatini have ranged from high inflation to a slowdown in South Africa, one of its primary trading partners. Insufficient government revenue seems to be a trend. Whether preserving the influence of the monarchy or building up basic infrastructure, the coffers are mysteriously light. This approach has stifled private sector development, leading to an economic plot twist worthy of a business novel. Thus, in the world of monarchies, the majestic facades, grand ceremonies, and luxurious lifestyles often overshadow the complex economic structures and practices that underpin these historic institutions. Of course, we can first witness this in Europe's varied economic structures, from the British royal family's £21.3 billion portfolio and transparent crown estate model to Monaco's high-rolling casino-backed economy. Meanwhile, the economic story in East Asia varies from Japan's understated budget to Thailand's controversial $40 billion net worth monarch. In the Middle East, oil drives the staggering $1.4 trillion net worth of Saudi Arabia's royal family, while Dubai has innovatively shifted from oil to become an international business hub. Additionally, African monarchies, such as Morocco and Eswatini, reveal a mixture of entrepreneurial acumen and criticized excess. But what unites these varied economic tales is the delicate balance of maintaining traditions and adapting to a globalized world, where financial transparency, global investments and strategic decisions influence not only the future of the dynasty, but also the entire nation's stability and growth. It's a game of thrones where economics, power, and national identity are inextricably intertwined. And now we'd like to see you in the comments. Our channel has already covered many royal families and wealthy dynasties in Europe and America. Which country in Asia, the Middle East, South America, or Africa would you like us to feature? And of course, be sure to like any of the suggestions you see which you agree with, so that we can be sure to cover the one with the highest votes. We can't wait to hear from you, and thanks again for joining us here at Old Money Luxury. Cheers, until next time.